I'm Lynn Onstot with the City of Joplin, and I welcome you to Joplin Insider, a show that's designed to give you current news and talk about some of the programs going on in the City of Joplin. Today, my guest is Mary Anne Phillips. Mary Anne is well known as our recycling coordinator, but today she's here wearing a different hat. She's also our stormwater educator. She goes out to the public and citizens and helps us understand a little bit more about stormwater. Hello, Mary Anne. Thanks for being here.
Yes.
I'm glad you're here because stormwater in Joplin is something that many people think water goes under the drain and then it's done, you know, that we don't have to worry about it. So tell me a little bit about stormwater, if you would.
Well, to get kind of an overview, if you will, a lot of people think of stormwater or rainwater as, you know, it hits the parking lots, it hits the streets, and it's the city's goal, the engineers, to get it off that parking lot really fast, get it off the streets really fast, get it into the storm drains. And for years, that was our philosophy, that was our goal. And the good news is we did it very well. The bad news is we did it very well.
Okay.
We managed to get that rainwater off of the streets and parking lots because of, you know, the almighty car and of course flooding and safety and everything else. But what happens is when it goes away so fast, it takes all the trash with it. It takes the chemicals that have landed on the ground with it. It takes like the salt and cinders that we put down from, you know, during a snowstorm. I mean, just everything, even your styrofoam cup that accidentally blew out of the back of your pickup truck, you know, it all goes down into that storm drain. And a lot of people don't realize that once it goes into the storm drain, there's no magic person or machine that picks up all the trash or sorts it. Yeah, there's no filter.
Yeah, no screen.
Right, no screen. Yeah, no interceptor, and it just goes into the storm drain ditches, and of course the pipes that we've created, and then eventually falls into different creeks or branches, or there's hollows.
Which is how we get a lot of that trash into the streams.
Right, and so then once it goes into the first stream, then it empties into eventually Shoal Creek and Turkey Creek, or even Center Creek in our area.
And those flow into larger.
They flow into like Spring River, which then goes into Grand Lake of the Cherokees.
So it just keeps going, yeah. So we need to catch it early, right? So catch it at the beginning. Now, it seems really simple, but is there a way for people to understand that? I mean, they may not think about the oils and the sediments on the road, or, you know, like I said, the trash is visible. You see that and you try to keep it. But do you have any kind of tools that you help people understand a visual of some sort? I thought you brought something today.
Yes, I just so happen to have my diorama set
in your pocket.
Yes. It's called an Enviroscape, but it's in teacher language, it's a diorama. And it's quite elaborate, and it comes with a lot of instructions and a lot of parts, but my purpose today is to teach teachers that they can I can loan this out to them. To educators, even to summer school people.
And they're showing it on the screen now, so you can kind of go through a little bit more.
It's really neat because it shows real life situations. You know, like here's a housing development, here's a wastewater, an industry, here's a wastewater plant, down there is a farm. But then eventually everything drains into this, is supposed to simulate a creek or a river, a water body.
Yeah.
And what's cool, and the kids just love this, so I pick out a kid who wants to be, you know, the rain goddess, you know.
Right.
And I go, so what happens if you squirt, you know, if it rains on your house, and you just put down weed killer, or you just put down fertilizer, and it rains. Well, what happens is it goes into the storm drain, which then goes under the street, which goes into an outlet, which goes into, we'll say, Silver Creek, and then goes into Shoal Creek. And so this you know, spray bottle simulating rain, if you get enough on there, eventually you can see, it's going to go into the creek. And even if you're way upstream, eventually it's
the golf course even, and the fertilizers and stuff like that they put on it. And
so what's neat though is it's designed to be very interactive. So the kids can say, and that's how you learn, when you're touching things and moving things around. So then you ask the kids, well, how can we prevent some of this? So how can we prevent, you know, the erosion from this hillside? Well, you can plant more trees, and so you can give them the little tree with the little
gummy
clay on it. Or how do you keep the cows from, going number 1 and number 2
Yeah.
in the field, which then when it rains, it goes into the creek. And it's amazing. A lot of kids come up with the answers on their own. I've been very surprised through the years. So you can say, well, you can, build a fence to keep them out. And or you can plant grass and native plants and cattails to filter the water before it goes down. And of course, plant more trees.
Okay.
So, the teacher obviously has the cheat sheet.
Sure.
The
Well, and you've done
instructions.
some education, I'm sure, with them.
And so they, learn ahead of time, and then, the kids can play with it. But I mean,
I want that in my office. Can you bring that to my office? That's fun.
This is just a wonderful thing. I've had it at the water festivals at Shoal Creek.
So you have it, but is it available for loan?
Right. All an educator has to do is call me and come by and get it, and I'll explain it to them, and then I have a little form that they sign, so I know.
Yeah, because they might have a chapter on environmental, science, so to speak.
Sure.
Yeah, some of the simple things that you can do, because I think now, obviously, with recycling and a lot of things going green, that people are thinking more and more about that. Luckily, we're moving back into that phase. We're not consuming so much. We're trying to reuse. At least I'd like to think we are. So.
Yeah. Well, and not using so many chemicals on your yard.
Yeah. More of a natural way to do that. So, well, that is wonderful. That's a great tool. So, what are some other tips? I mean, this shows us what we should be doing, but what about us adults at home and some of the things that we should be doing and we should know better? Can you help us a little bit with some tips?
Well, one thing, and growing up as a kid, I'm sure you saw it all the time. Our dads changed the oil in the car.
Yes.
Boy, you didn't have all these quick places to go change your oil, and a lot of people would go out into the street. They would drain the oil, and maybe they'd catch it in a pan. Maybe some of it would get caught in the pan. On a good day.
Or they dump the pan after they caught it.
And then after they were done, they'd dump the pan just wherever, on the grass or in the creek or in the storm drain. And so, that's a big, it's against the law, for one thing.
So where are we supposed to put oils and things from our cars?
Okay. Well, oil is easy. You can go to any O'Reilly or Auto Parts, AutoZone, or any of those places. We'll take it for free.
Oh, okay.
But if it's
Do
contaminated,
you bring it in a jar? Does it matter what kind of container?
whatever is safe to travel with.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of milk jugs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it has a
but
lid.
whatever's safe. But they'll take it for free. But
Okay.
if it gets contaminated with other chemicals like antifreeze or even dirt, then lots of times the commercial places won't take it. But then I will take it at the Joplin Hazardous Waste Facility.
And where's that?
I'll take it even if it's dirty. It's just a big trailer inside the Joplin Recycling Center.
Okay. So if I catch it and it's clean, take it to one of the auto places, those types of places, and then otherwise bring it, the hazardous waste, what do you call it?
Well, it's a household hazardous waste facility.
Okay. But it's on the recycling center property.
Yes, it's inside the fencing of the recycling center.
And we can't find it. You have, Joanne and your young man there.
Thomas.
Yeah. They're there to help us.
Oh, sure, yeah.
If they see us
'cause
carrying
we
these
don't-
big jugs of liquid of some sort, yeah.
Yeah, we don't let people usually go in there. We do it for them.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
even better to know.
Yeah,
So they just ask what kind of liquid it is.
Yeah,
and
for
so-
safety reasons, I really don't like
Well, sure, spills and all sorts of
the
reasons.
public in there, yeah.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, well that's
And it's free.
And it's free. That is another great thing.
Well,
a lot of the things that you offer are free.
It's
which is
free
wonderful.
because I have grant funding from Region M Solid Waste Management District to help pay for it.
And we really appreciate them because I do know that they help you a lot. And well,
For
you
years.
recently received an award. I will give you a shout out that you got an award for being one of the most, I'm going to get the wording wrong, I know, but like most conscientious, most knowledgeable as a recycler. Is that correct?
I think, yeah, for a municipality.
Municipality, yeah, because I know you're very passionate about recycling, and obviously this goes along with that, so to speak, because again, you talked about the trash going down our drains and things of that nature. What about like when we mow our yard and fertilize and all that? Can you help us a little bit what we should be doing?
Okay, that is a timely subject right now, and I see it all the time where people cut their grass and they purposefully shoot it out into the street.
Yeah, because it makes our yard prettier if it's not on our yard.
But did you know it's against the city code to do that?
No, I did not.
It is.
And I work at the city.
Yeah, it's hard to enforce, obviously.
right.
But I do get calls, and the code enforcers get calls. But you're not supposed to put anything in the street. You just, and grass and leaves.
What does that matter?
Because when it rains, it goes down into the storm drains.
And again,
and
clogs the storm drains.
Clogs it up. And even if it doesn't clog it, even if all that natural organic matter goes into the streams, a lot of people think, well, what's the big deal? It's organic.
Right.
Well, it is a big deal because it creates a turbidity, rather, I'm sorry, in the creek. And so you get all this silt and sediment and dirt, and then the sun can't get through the water to maintain the aquatic life and all the fish food.
Okay,
in simple terms.
It interrupts the cycle of life, so, the cycle of life as we talk about it. Interesting. I did not know that. So oils we talked about on our street. What about, like right now people are washing their cars? I mean, sometimes I go to a commercial. Sometimes, hey, I have the hose at home. I have soap. Why can't I just go wash my car in my driveway?
I think that's another thing we grew up doing.
Yeah,
if you lived in the suburbs, maybe not New York City. We encourage people to go ahead and still wash their car, but drive it onto their grass, onto their lawn.
So again, it's
so that the soap and the dirt from the car is going into the grass, and then the grass is a natural filter.
Okay.
But if you do it on the street or your driveway, it's a impervious surface, meaning it doesn't percolate down, and then boom, goes down the street, goes into the storm drain. And there again, it's against the law to put wash water, soap water, into any of our storm drains.
Now, I didn't know about the wash water, and I didn't know about the grass necessarily, that it was against ordinance. I get calls, because I do take a lot of calls to the city. I get calls about somebody, sending the oils down the drain, and neighbors are really conscientious.
Yes.
Sometimes people may not realize that, or just trying to sneak by, but we're watching for that. We're trying to discourage that. So, what about we have we talk about the rainwater. We think rainwater's simple and all that. So we have our gutters, and we're catching those. Where should we be directing our gutters?
Well, we really tell people to direct the gutters, onto their yard, not onto their driveway or sidewalk or walkway, which then goes into the street.
Okay.
Because that way, if it goes into your grass, then it's a natural filter.
Well, and sometimes we want that for our grass. People could get the rainwater barrels, right? Would that help?
Rain barrels.
Rain barrels, yeah. That's a very big helper to the whole. I would imagine not only their own water bill, but also, helping catch the rainwater and put it back into the environment naturally, not into the ground, or the cement, I guess.
Yeah, a rain. If one or two people, or even if every house had a rain barrel, it's not gonna stop all the rain from going down the.
No, and we want rain going down.
But it creates a mindset. Once you have that, just like recycling. Once you're doing an action, it triggers you to think about all the other things that you could be doing.
Okay.
And you can get rain barrel kits at Habitat for Humanity Restore for a very reasonable price.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. That is, your Habitat Restore does a lot of great things. So yeah. Well, I'm reading off this handy dandy brochure, and I don't know, Bill, or Jake, or Zach, if you're in there. I'm not sure if you have that brochure. We have this available for people. So this is what I'm looking at, is what they're seeing on there. And so it has some other tips, and I'm reading something about pools and spa water. Tell me about, why can't we just dump our pool water?
Okay, that's another thing. It's in city code to direct it to the street. We ask people to let it sit for a while and let all the chemicals that you put in it dissipate.
Okay.
But even then, drain it to your yard. I realize not everybody has big yards that they can do that, but
or maybe drain it slowly to your yard. Obviously just don't dump the whole thing, because
they'll go into your neighbor's yard.
Yeah, they won't be happy. That's true. Pet waste, is that a problem?
We haven't targeted it that much in Joplin, but other cities have, especially in a bigger urban environment where they may do their business on their parkway, but then when it rains, it's still going into the street and going into the storm drain. But it has, it carries pathogens, and same thing why we don't want the cattle, in the rivers and creeks.
Right. That makes sense. So
is that getting too graphic? That's
no. I mean, it's cycle. We have to know about these things. We talked a little bit about some of the oils from our vehicles and things like that. What about like grease? Our oil. Like if someone's cooking with oil and frying, cooking grease.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that too. I remember in the old days, people would go out and like feed it to the birds or whatever, and just throw it out in the yard. And I'm sure there's a lot of farm places that do it on purpose. But we do not want people putting it down their garbage disposal or their sink. It harms your pipes for one thing, and then eventually it doesn't just go away. It doesn't just mix with all the water. Eventually, all that grease comes together and cools and attaches to the side of our sewer pipes, and then creates blockage.
Right.
We get a lot of that problem around where there's restaurants.
Oh, sure.
Not so much from residential areas, but restaurants. And there again, city code, restaurants are supposed to have a place to put their grease and then hire a service to come clean it out.
Right.
But for homeowners, they can bring it to the recycling center for free.
Okay.
And it can be animal-based or vegetable, doesn't matter.
Okay.
So if you're frying a chicken, or if you're frying with Crisco or bacon grease, it doesn't matter. Animal or vegetable, we will take that grease for free.
That is good. And again, just bring it in some sort of container, and you guys will take care of it. Well, that is wonderful to know. So, we talked about recycling center, that you have this hazmat disposal area. So, what other things, like paint, and what other things can it take that we may be sitting down our drain that we shouldn't be?
We take everything except paint.
Oh, I mentioned paint. Oh, of course. Yeah, there.
No, I'm glad you did, because I get calls every day, and you probably do too, and just pass them over to me. The reason I don't take paint is there's so much of it that I would run through my grant in the first day.
Okay.
I just can't physically afford it,
Right.
financially afford it. But we tell people to solidify their paint with sawdust or cat litter, stir it up really good, leave the lid off, and then once it's hardened, you can set out for the trash service.
Okay.
Or you could take a big cardboard box and paint the box and let it dry, and then put it out for the trash.
The kids have a great day if it's
right. Just don't pour it down the storm drain.
Yes.
But at the hazardous waste facility, we take all insecticides and pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers. Believe it or not, we still get mercury. We get little baby food jars of liquid mercury.
Wow.
That somebody's granddad had in the basement for years.
Whatever reason,
we get a lot of thermostats and thermometers, and a lot of home improvement products like roofing tar or caulk. Just anything you can think of, we take it except paint.
Okay. Well, and the paint, like you say, if you solidify that, so that is helpful. So I want to again call attention to the brochure. I think that's what they're showing right now, is that, as well as the recycling guide about.
I have a separate brochure for household hazardous waste.
Oh, okay.
And this brochure, it doesn't just tell what we take, but how to transport it to us, because we don't want people to have an accident, when something spills together and they get a chemical reaction in their car on the way to us.
Yeah, that would not be good. So, and you say there's a charge, or there's not a charge?
No, it's free now, because I have a grant to help pay for
and
it.
at the recycling, tell us the hours of the recycling center.
Okay, Tuesday and Thursday is noon to 6 p.m. and Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday is 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay. Pretty simple.
6 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Sure. So, in wrapping up, overall, I'm again looking at this brochure. If somebody wants a copy of this brochure, if they want a copy of the other brochure, the hazardous waste, where would they call, or how would they get a copy of the brochure?
Okay. Well, we keep them at City Hall.
Okay.
And we also keep them at the Public Works Center. We keep them at the Recycling Center. They're supposed to be at the library. Sometimes I have to go check on that.
Yeah, that they may have been depleted.
Right.
Taken them.
And of course, they can call me. I can email it in a PDF form, or I can put it in the U.S. mail to them.
Okay, that sounds good. And then I know,
and it's on our website.
Sure. Yeah, and then in our newsletter, we try to run different articles pertaining to these different types of things. So that's also a very helpful thing, I think. I was thinking of another question, and it's just escaped me. Is there anything specific that you want to point out about stormwater?
Well, I think people just they think rain washes things away. They think, we need a good rain to, quote, clean this parking lot, or clean my driveway. And that's not what rain is supposed. Rain is not our wash basin. Yeah. We want only rain to go in the storm drains. We don't want anything else.
Now, Joplin's known, I mean, a lot of people see the stormwater drains, but we have a lot of natural creeks, or, not natural springs, I guess is what I'm saying, and some creeks. I think there's a map that you'd brought out that we could look at, and I think Bill's working to get that up.
It's kind of fun when I bring this map to different events, you know, people just love to look at it and they go, oh, here's my house. Oh, I didn't know the name of that creek was Baker's Branch, or Tin Cup, or Lone Elm Hollow. We actually have names for these things. They're not just storm drains, you know, or storm ditches.
Well, Tin Cup, I mean, that's part of the mining community you hear about.
Sure.
So,
and like Silver Creek Village, you know, all the homes in Silver Creek Village, how they get their name? Well, duh, they're on Silver Creek.
Okay. So people can look at this map. I know I've run it in the newsletter a couple times, you know, after we've had a rain situation or a flooding, so people know that there are natural springs, or, you know, there's areas that they always thought it was just a dry ditch or whatever.
Right. So, and it may be on certain days. But what's cool about this map is it shows that then it flows into Shoal Creek or Turkey Creek. And what the map, though, doesn't show is then those creeks go into Spring River, which then goes into Grand Lake of the Cherokees.
Right.
And if they ever release that water, it goes into Arkansas River, Mississippi River, Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I know, you know, a lot of people are seeing orange cones throughout the city of Joplin, and every time you see an orange cone, you tend to think it's road work. Well, a lot of that work is stormwater improvement, isn't it?
We have been doing a lot thanks to the sales tax, because that is very expensive work.
Thanks to the voters for passing that sales tax to help. Because I know people get frustrated when the water gets backed up into their yard, into their garage, or something like that.
Yeah, we're still very concerned with the quantity, getting the quantity off the streets, but there's a lot of best management practices that businesses can do when they build their parking lot, and when the city builds things, like our new fire stations. You know, we try to slow that water down and filter it before it goes into the storm drain.
Well, and again, in the building inspections and things, you know, as they go through that, we have inspectors looking specifically at that, as how the water is going to drain, correct?
Right, and even the plans reviewer looks at it, you know, on their plans before it's ever even built.
Yeah, well, I know, you know, in the middle of town, we have the floodplain, you know, that goes right through like Illinois Avenue or Indiana and that area. Because I remember with the school, when they were rebuilding, there were some issues that the floodplain, and that's not designated by the city, that's designated by a federal agency that designates a floodplain.
Well, and thanks to a lot of, because of insurance companies too. They're not going to let you build something that's in a designated floodplain.
Good point. Yeah, they would not want to insure you then.
Right. So. But the school has done the high school, Joplin High School, has done a fabulous job of slowing the water down and filtering it before it's released. And I got to
help with that?
Yeah, no. They just gave us a insider tour.
Oh, okay.
And it's just amazing what they've been able to do over there. And probably some of the high school kids don't even realize what it is.
Right.
You know, they just think it's part of the landscaping, but really it's stormwater control.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're working at the city obviously on these different projects, you know, disaster, you know, recovery projects, things of that nature that we have, you know, $158 million worth of those projects. We have the stormwater, you know, sales tax that's helping us do some stormwater improvements. And so we're working, you know, and I'll be looking to you and obviously working with the engineers on how to communicate that so people can understand what exactly this project is, what's the benefit to the community, things of that nature. So I'm always looking for ideas from residents, from you, on how do they want to know this information. I put it on the website, I send out it through the news media, in the newsletter, but we need to do a better job in explaining stormwater and why it is important that it's being done.
It's a constant education process.
It is. Well, you know, and I always, you know, kind of laugh that it's NIMBY, not in my backyard. People really don't realize things that are going on unless it affects their backyard or their pocketbook. And, you know, and both, you know, stormwater getting into your house can do that. What about your septic system? You know, it says inspect your septic system.
Well, thankfully, there's not that many septic systems inside the city limits of Joplin.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people have hooked onto our sewer system.
Right, but maybe
there still are some, you know. But boy, I tell you, it's a responsibility to have one because you have to maintain it, you have to inspect it, you have to have it cleaned out. Sometimes you have to put, you know, the Rid-X type things in there. And if it leaks, then it can affect your neighbor's drinking water, it can affect your neighbor's house, and it can affect, downstream.
Do people realize when they're having issues with their septic system? I mean, do you know? I mean,
Well, there's a smell or standing water, even though hasn't rained in days.
I see.
Or the smell backs up. Or
kind of watch for those kind of things. So
and sometimes it's the neighbors that call us.
Right.
Right,
well, and that's good too, and that's just it. That's one of the things that our residents, we want them to know is that we're here to help. They may have questions about, I have the standing water, not really sure, that we can send somebody out there to look at it and start looking at the cause.
Oh, sure.
To help them. Who do they call for something like that?
Well, you mean to report it?
Or yeah, either or. They can call me, of course. Well,
any of the health department or any of our code enforcers, which are now called neighborhood improvement officers.
Okay.
But also, they just have to call a professional company, and it's not cheap at all. A lot of people think, oh, I've got a septic system, I'm saving money by not being on the city sewer system. I think if you did the math,
that's probably better,
in the long run, you are better off on a city system.
Right, and they're maintaining it and things of that nature. So, well, we're getting close to wrapping up. So I want to give you an opportunity again to give us, kind of the top 3-4 tips that maybe residents can be doing about their stormwater.
Okay, if you see a creek nearby or storm drain nearby your house or your school, go out there periodically and pick the trash up. Styrofoam cups do not biodegrade.
Right.
The paper ones eventually do, but the styrofoam just does not, or the plastic bottles, or I see soccer balls, I see coolers, I see all kinds of
plastic
things.
Bags.
Plastic bags,
let's back up. Let's take our reusable bags to the store, and so that way there's not many plastic bags in the environment. That's the first step. That's my thing. I'm not
I do too. I bring
I'm
my
not
own
always
bags.
doing it. I forget them sometimes, but yeah.
And then also, if you're an educator, call me at the city. Just call the city main number. They'll connect to me.
Or if you hit number 3, you can get me or my coworker Vicki, and we'll get them to you too.
They'll
they'll
run me down.
We'll find you.
And then I can loan this to them for whatever period they need it. If they need it for a week or a day or whatever
and
it
if
takes.
the school's just having a science fair or something like that, that would be a great time. Is focus on science and some of this stuff, because there's a lot of good careers in that kind of field too.
I was thinking about that. This is stormwater management and pollution control has created a whole new industry of engineers who are coming up with better ways of doing things, and then they have products that go along with it, and then of course the education side of it. Years ago it wasn't even taught in school, in engineering schools.
Right. Well, again, we were washing everything down the drain. We didn't think about
we thought, we're doing such a good
job.
job.
As we get older, we learn a lot as the earth, so to speak. As the world. So, well, I think we're getting this high sign that it's time to wrap up. So, I want to thank you very much. I've learned a lot, and I hope our residents have learned as well. And we're always looking for new ideas for stories. At this point, this is the end of the Joplin Insider focusing on stormwater management. But if you have ideas for stories, please contact me at the city. My name is Lynn Onstot. We thank you for being with us today. See you next time.